Welcome to the Math Together show, where thoughtful math educators gather and learn together. I'm Molly Vokey.
I'm Sue Looney.
I'm Heidi Subnati. We're really happy that you joined us here this evening.
So we are excited to talk to Sue today about something that's very important to her and very important in general. And this is our question. What is the first gatekeeper to the development of number sense, and what can we do about it? So before we do that, we'd like to remind you to say hello. If you're out there today and watching, we want to know where you are and tell us what your name is. What else? Please ask questions if you have questions. Oh gosh, have you started school? Heavens. Oh my goodness. Yes, and Sue is going to raffle something special off today. And Heidi, I think it's you now.
Yeah, so we are really happy that you are here and you have joined us today. We have a couple of really special things happening. It is our last 24 hours of our back to school sale for our Math Together learning community, where you get 20% off. And that's only if you sign up within the next 24 hours. You can join that community, get lots of support, additional resources, activities that are just for that community, and opportunities to meet and interact in a way that is separate and just for those of us who are really interested in furthering our math abilities in the classroom and how we best support students. So we would love to have you join us there in our Math Together learning community. Remember, your first month is always free, and so you can see how things are and interact with us there. We would love to have you. Additionally, if you are someone who is just looking for a little bit of math support and someone to bounce ideas off of, we have a free math support chat. If you go to looneymath.com and say contact us, you can sign up for a free consultation with one of us, and we will happily talk you through a math problem in your classroom that you are having. So please let us know how we can help you there as well.
Excellent. All right, so I am going to introduce Sue. As a new teacher, Sue became aware that our fifth grade students had significant gaps in understanding mathematics. This began her journey to understand how children learn mathematics. Inspired by the work of author Jonathan Kozol, his book, Savage Inequalities, she became particularly interested in our most vulnerable and underrepresented populations and supporting the teachers that day in and day out serve these students with compassion, enthusiasm, and kindness. This learning journey has taken Sue to amazing places, from the elementary classroom to writing materials for preschool students to obtaining her doctorate and teaching pre-service teachers at Boston University, to speaking at conferences from coast to coast in the US, to writing 2 children's books, and to volunteering in the Galapagos Islands. She has been fortunate for these experiences and to have been met incredible educators along the way who have been willing to teach and inspire her. She is still curious, still learning, and has a deep respect for all educators.
Yep.
Sue, welcome back to the show. We missed you last week.
Thank you. I know I was delivering my youngest to the University of Vermont, and he is safely there and doing well. So thank you.
Yeah, we're glad to have you back. So as you know, we always like to ask our guests, what is your why? Yep. Why have you dedicated your life to educating students and teachers alike?
So I love this question, and I love when we hear from our guests about this, and I have been thinking a lot about what I wanted to say here. And so I want to tell a story. And so a lot of my why is in that bio, but I want to tell a story about really going farther back. And so I was born in 1968, and I was a child that was raised in the 70s in a pretty traditional home. And I want to paint a picture of little Susan. And I had my pigtails, I would curl them. And I had those barrettes. Did you have them? Like butterflies and bows, right? I had my barrettes. had my knee socks and my patent leather shoes, and I wore dresses as much as possible. And I was so excited and eager to start school. And I'm telling you this story to paint this picture of my answer to why. And my reason for why is what I've always wanted. And as I have memories of being this little girl, was two things: was to understand and to be understood. And so as a little girl, I really wanted to understand everything. Like I was this person that, why, how come? And I would be told, sit quietly, act like a lady, don't talk back, which was so confusing to me because I'm like, what do you mean don't talk back? I'm answering you, right? But I was supposed to, and I think like all girls, at least in my realm in the 70s, that was the deal. We were supposed to wear those patent leather shoes and those dresses, which, by the way, I did actually love them. But we were not supposed to be curious. And I really wanted to know why. And it was problematic for me. So I always wanted to understand, to be understood. And specifically, I remember in school, I was in second grade and I had a lot of mathematical thoughts always. I've always loved numbers and patterns. And it might have something to do with the fact that my dad is an engineer by trade, and that he instilled that curiosity, he just exuded it. So I remember hearing about subtraction. Actually, this was first grade. And I was told that we couldn't take away 2 minus 5. Can't do that. And I had a number line on my desk. And we used to have to count on that number line to subtract. And I was like, well, I can. I just would be before the 0, right? So I couldn't sit there quietly because I want to understand and be understood. So I said, excuse me, Mrs. Ballantyne, I think we can do that. We just be 3 before 0. And she said, no, Susan, you can't do that. And I was like, no, but I really think I can, because usually I just go 1, 2 back and you want me to go 5. I just would keep going, and numbers go on forever. They're infinite. So I think maybe they just would infinitely go the other way. So I really wanted to understand this and be understood, and she wasn't having it. And I hit 7th grade and we hit integers, and honest to goodness, they said 2 minus 5 is minus 3. And I was like, I knew it was minus 3. I knew that.
All this time I've been holding this back.
Yes. And I was vindicated. Right. And so I carry that. And you all obviously know me very well. And I ask questions and I push boundaries, and I need to understand, but I also desperately want to be understood, and it's not a good feeling. And so I started working with children, and before that, I have a sister who's 13 years younger. So I really started being drawn towards young children and interested in how they learn. And I became aware that often young children aren't understood and they don't understand. And so I really became about the underdog. So I worked in camps and daycares and after school programs. And I was always drawn to, that student, the one that was in trouble, the one that couldn't quite get it together, the one that had no friends, the one that was quiet. So I've always been drawn towards that underdog. And I think it comes back to the experiences of just really being misunderstood and labeled as a child myself. And so I went on into education and became a teacher. And I referenced my 5th grade classroom is what led me to say, I need to know everything about how they got here. I did the readings of Jonathan Kozol on savage inequalities, and I had no idea of the inequities that existed in the world. I had no idea. So I seem to be frozen, but I'm just not sure if it's on my end.
Yep.
Yeah, it seems like you might be freezing. Okay, keep going.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to keep going. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You didn't freeze at all on my end, so I think you're good.
Okay. So I became aware of the inequalities in the education system. And at that point, I became very interested in understanding how we can help our most vulnerable of learners. And that led me to really pursuing a deep understanding of early childhood.
Great. Oh, I feel like we're having some technical issues. I'm not sure.
I think we're okay. So we'll just keep going because it's live. And this is what we do. Going. Right? It's just yeah. So one of the things that we have talked about, and I know that's really important to you, is early childhood and early numeracy. And we have this idea of gatekeepers in education and specifically in mathematics. And so when we think about what is that first gatekeeper to the development of number sense and what can we be doing about it?
So we talk about gatekeepers in mathematics, and we often hear that algebra is the gatekeeper. Mm-hmm. And after that, we started hearing, well, actually before algebra, fractions keep kids out of higher level mathematics. But I want to reference some research about why I think it happens way sooner and why it's important that we acknowledge that it's happening much sooner. So in early childhood is when we really need to start intervening with children. And there's two studies that I want to reference. And so one of them is the study that was done in 2007 by Duncan and colleagues. And they looked at what would predict later success in school. And they looked at young children and they were looking at their ability with reading, their ability to attend, and their social emotional readiness and mathematics. And they said, which of these will predict how well students do later in mathematics and in all education, not just mathematics? And what happened was they found out that mathematics was the greatest predictor of later success. And this was so surprising that the study's been repeated multiple times, and every single time, math ability at a young age predicts and is correlated with later success in school. So this is a profound finding that tells us that it's so important that we get kids off on the right foot. A little bit later in 2009, there was some work done by the National Research Council. And part of that work was done by Herb Ginsberg, who I actually was able to do some work with him out of Teachers College in Columbia. And he believed deeply in young children. In fact, sometimes he was one of the writers behind the scenes on Sesame Street. And so he's just phenomenal. But the quote from the National Research Council really should send off alarms for all of us. And so the quote from them is, for most, the potential to learn mathematics in the early years of school is not currently realized. Children who start out behind in mathematics will remain so without extensive, high-quality, early mathematics instruction. This quote should really give us pause. So children who start out behind remain behind unless we do something about it. So this is where I believe we know that the gatekeeper begins at such an early age.
Which that is so unfortunate, because I feel like we have lots and lots of teachers at the elementary level who go into teaching primarily because they love reading. And when I poll a room and ask elementary teachers, how many teachers, raise your hand if you became a teacher because you love math, it's virtually none. I mean, sometimes it's actually none. And right. Then other times it's one or two. And so we have lots and lots of teachers that are either math phobic or they just don't like math. And so that's super scary, because they are the people who have to give this very rigorous, deep, instruction for students.
Well, and I think the problem is that these educators are often left out of the equation. So this morning I met with preschool teachers in a district, and they've never had any math PD.
Right.
They couldn't. Right. they were like, you're speaking our language. I'm like, and you are who I want to talk to, right? So they get left out of the conversation by the people that are planning, because the people that are planning think, oh, the gatekeeper's algebra, the gatekeeper's fractions. We have to look at our testing grades, but it's really so much sooner. And we know if we don't catch them up as quick as possible, research tells us they never catch up.
If we consider like family influences, and here in the US, how we have this kind of almost pride at some point in not liking math, or seeing it as calculation only. And so we would never, in a situation with young children, say, oh, you know, your child is struggling with reading, and have a parent say, oh, well, that's fine. But we hear that all the time in mathematics, right? When we work with parents or with teachers, and so we keep hearing this over and over again. So the idea that we have this double-sided piece of, we have the societal influences of that, and we're leaving out those teachers, and maybe not focusing on the mathematics and mathematical ideas of young kids in a time where they have a ton of curiosity. Like I think about young children and their ability to notice patterns, their abilities to see and try in their own ways to communicate what those patterns are. Right. And we sometimes gloss over that and focus on literacy and language over that number sense, and leave that off. And I think it's so important. So what should we be doing? You said one thing about including, I'm hoping it's not just me here. I think it might be. We may be having some technical difficulties today. So I'm going to just keep going until I'm hoping Sue and Molly come back.
Hi, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened.
That's okay.
But I'm back.
One
of the things that I was going to say is that one of the other things, Heather is commenting about pre-K is always gets left out.
Yeah.
And Annalise is saying the same things. They use the word like hate and despise. They've been traumatized by math their entire life.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that's also problematic that gets us into this same place is that our teaching programs don't include a lot of math.
Right.
I know myself, I think I took 2. Hi, Sue, welcome back. Having outer body experiences today. So
I'm going to go forward in speaking.
Okay.
Wow. Well, it has been quite a day.
Hasn't it, though?
It has.
Yes, it's been quite a day for
you
ladies.
Sue, do you hear us?
I do. I hear you. It's just choppy on my end.
Okay.
So we're hearing from Heather online that she only had one seminar to not even a full course of mathematics instruction as a teacher. So Sue, jump in if you can.
Yep.
What should we be doing?
So what we want to be doing is we want to be counting. And one of the things, it's just shocking to me that we've had this research since 2007, an entire book about this in 2009, and we aren't doing what we need to do. And what we need to be doing is we need to be counting with children as much as possible in all different ways. And yet our national standards only reference counting at the kindergarten level extensively. Mm-hmm. So after counting by ones, we want to count in groups. We want to count by fractions. We want to count by decimals. We want to count in groups. We want to count forwards. We want to count backwards. We want to continue to be counting every time we bump up against a new kind of number, all the way through the grading system. We want to be looking for those patterns and be pulling in counting experiences. The other thing that we want to do is make sure that our students have a purpose for counting. So it's not just, hey, let's count, which we are going to do, and we're going to notice patterns with them, but we want children to know why they're counting. So we want to give them a purpose. And my favorite way to do this is called the Get Me task. And I'm going to talk you through it. And it's so simple. And I actually have a handout that walks through. I'm going to link you to the research. I'm going to paste that into the comments. And I'm going to suggest these things to you. But the Get Me task is like this. I would say to a child, please go and get a napkin so that everybody at the table has one. Mm-hmm. And when I do that, the child has to count. Right. They have to stop and say, how many friends are at this table? And then they have to go and get that many napkins. And there's one rule. They cannot go get the whole stack of napkins. They have to come back
with the right amount of napkins for the right amount of people that are there.
Yeah, and so, you know, that Get Me, I think, can be used maybe in the classroom as well. So if we consider how we would bring that into the classroom when we consider, okay, how many people do we have around that we're going to need to get sharpened pencils for? Or how many chairs do we need to have in order for everyone to sit here as a group? I think that that is one of those things that it's a very easy way to incorporate students and give something to parents that they could be doing. And I never would have thought about that. Sue mentioned that to me early in getting to know her, like, oh, the Go Get Me. And I'm like, what do you mean the Go Get Me? And so that is something that I definitely did with my kids when they were younger because of that suggestion. And I think that's an easy, low task thing for many parents to have.
For sure. And I used to make my kids do that, but I was, I didn't really think much about it, but I would say, oh, there's 7 of us, so go get 7. So I took all the work right out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much longer clearly this is an issue at where I am sitting and not where you two are. So I don't know how much longer I'm going to be kicked out, and I don't want to keep. So if I get kicked out again, I'm going to say just continue on because this has got to be super frustrating.
We're fine, and you're fine.
So let's us, and we can keep going. But we do want to talk about some exciting opportunities to really unpack this early counting, because it's not something that is available for many early elementary teachers. And so why don't you share with us an opportunity for our early childhood folks?
Great. So I'm really excited to announce that there's going to be a full course called Counting on Number Sense through the Grassroots Workshops, and that's going to open up on September 11th. If somebody needs to get started on some PD sooner than that, you can send me a message in Facebook, and I actually can go ahead and get you registered sooner. But that's a 6-week long opportunity that I'm super excited about. And it's not just for preschool students. This is, in my opinion, it's for all elementary teachers. We might say that it's for pre-K too. But my work with 5th grade students is what led me to this place. Mm-hmm. Another thing that I have available that is free of cost is I have some micro PD. And so those are a set of videos that are housed on the Looney Math website right now and are being sent out to the mailing list. But if you go to the Looney Math website under free resources, I'm releasing 3 short, almost like 10-minute modules around number sense that are for all elementary teachers. And you can check those out. And the second video is coming out tomorrow. And the last thing that I did want to mention was the children's book. So I have, this is what I'm going to raffle. So I was able.
So she has a book that's called Same But Different, and it just came out recently, and she is very excited about it. It's absolutely adorable. The pictures are enormous. Yeah. And all the pictures in her new book are different than anything from the website. So if anybody is interested in the book, please go to the Looney Math. Go to the same but different math website. But I think you can also go to the Looney Math website and find the book there. So that is something that's super exciting that just came out.
Yeah. And in order to enter the raffle, it's really simple. If you leave a comment here in the chat between now and Monday, we will be choosing a winner from there. And so this book is pretty brand new. It's only been out a couple of weeks. And it's, like Molly was saying, different images than those that are on the website. The website's available for free, and it's also a great way to engage your students in counting. This is a picture book that you can use with your young children, which we think is really important. Also, the small bite-sized PDs that are available that Sue was talking about, great for those in early childhood, but even those of us who work with older grade levels, having some understanding of where students are coming from and what they might be missing is going to be really critical for us as we go forward. So I think that's something that we definitely want to keep in mind, in addition to the wonderful grassroots workshop that Sue has coming out. We know how much work and time and effort she has put into that, and really has created something for a space and for teachers that doesn't really exist out there. There are lots of things for other elementary grades and for middle and high school teachers, but for those of us working in pre-K to 3, this is something that's really for you. And we can vouch for the excellence of it, even though, in part because we know Sue, and because we know, and because we know how passionate she is about this, and getting this learning to teachers.
Right. All right. So I think that Sue's having enough technical. Oh wait, maybe she's back. I feel like we should wait, but all right. I'm going to talk about our coffee chats. So we've been having this opportunity for teachers to contact us through the Looney Math website if they are interested in getting some feedback and or suggestions with any of the issues that they're having about going back to school and beginning to teach math. Particularly if you're trying to learn the virtual space and how do you utilize that. We are constantly learning about that ourselves right now, and so we would love to have that conversation with you. And as always, we are here to support you. And one way that we can support you is if you want to become a member of the Math Together community. So we are enjoying getting to know our members right now, and we would love for you to come inside and take a look. As always, it's a first free month, and then you have the option to stay or go, but we hope that you would love to join us. So check it out at the Looney Math website.
So we are hoping next week we do not have technical difficulties.
I know, this was
today has been a
all
day.
The people to have the problem is it was our special guest.
I know. Today has been a day for all of us. So for teachers out there who are going back into a virtual space, we absolutely feel your pain on this. All of us. We have to give ourselves some love, a moment to reset and be like, okay, you know what? That did not go well, not because we didn't prepare, not because we didn't have content, not because we were not passionate about the work that we're doing, but because of technology. And so as experienced by today, Molly and we both know I had quite the day of that myself, even prior to this. So it is something that we're going to be working with in this virtual space. But we are going to be talking with Dr. Chad McClone, who we know with for the nonprofit work that we've been doing the last couple of years with Teachers to Teachers Global. He is one of the founders of that organization, and he is going to be speaking to us about that work and about global math stories. And so we're really excited about the work that he and his organization are doing. And we are looking forward to speaking with him. We hope that you join us, and we will look forward to seeing you then.
Yes. So thank you all for joining us, and remember to always be curious.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.